Hello, my name is Jordan, and welcome back to another video on the internet. This is episode 13 of my Let's Play, and today we're going to be looking at some old footage that is at least 4 to 5 years old and comparing how my world has changed and all that fun stuff while I make interesting commentary over it. So let's get into it. Here we have a really old mob farm of mine, and it's the perfect example of things both going bad and good in the future, because things change, they're always changing, and as you can see here, a lot of things change, like my inventory layout, the tools I have. Some of those tools I still have today. I presume that is the same bow I have, that is the same sword I have, because I've always been very good at hoarding the same tools and using them over and over again. But that's just more of an insight about the time, as this was console edition. But as you can see here, more into the future, it's actually much worse. It's completely different, and I don't know why I changed it. But yeah, that really was the mob farm, and it's very abandoned, like a lot of things in my life. Here we have home, basically. This is my first house here, and yes, it's orange like a carrot. A lot of interesting things going on here, but as you'll see in the next clip, history changes, and also, interestingly, a mushroom. As you can see, I flattened this. I got rid of this with time because I was embarrassed by it, I guess, or I wanted to improve. That house actually did burn down in a house fire, surprisingly enough. There are a few references that I keep secret because they're personal to me, but the only thing remaining is that atrocity, which will be changed eventually. Here we have another mushroom, and the interesting thing here, these mushrooms are still very much present today. At least, I guess, their offspring in the far future. These are the two mushrooms I bring a long way from their home, all the way to eventually here, but they first actually went to the mansion and to here, but now look what happened. Yeah, don't question that. A lot of things have happened, and time is always an interesting concept. Here we have an old railway, and a lot of you may notice this is where Mirage City is. Look at the forest. Look how many things are still remaining, how the land hasn't changed as much. At this point here, though, everything has changed, and it's subjective whether it could be good or bad, because a lot of things are still in a mess, because I have a very common pattern of removing things, it seems. One of the only unchanged things is the Kca Mansion here, as I call it, because I just never changed it. I built it and left it. The only thing that did happen is one of the golems have went missing. As you can see here, we both have the Cassier guards. Basically this is unchanged, like completely, unless any part of this was unfinished at the time, past me falling off a ladder hurts. Yeah, no, everything looks to be done, except for the roof was eventually finished, but that took months, I believe, to finally finish that, because even then I was procrastinating things. It also seems a lot of my storage was here at this time, which is interesting because I did move around a lot, and you can see the result with a lot of abandoned bases still buried, basically, in my world, and that was the first beacon I ever got, and it wasn't fully powered at that point. Here, in modern times, I quickly cover it because it's basically the same. That pen was actually where those original two mushrooms went, and I breeded them, then eventually moved them, and then got them struck with lightning, and so on, as we can see the future. This has basically been left preserved. The X-Base was not as old as the mansion itself, but it's about 3 years old, and it's been left there for a while as well. But an interesting thing to look at as well. I believe that was inspired by Hermitcraft. Here is another old base that I never actually used, but the cool thing at the time was there was a way you could just drop an item. It probably still is possible, but I broke this. It activates a piston, leading me into this very weird base, which you can see here was never finished. Yellow and blue, the Kca flags, so another Kca base, which you're going to hear me reference the Kca a lot in this video, and I'm never going to tell you what it means. There was a minecart pushed into that dirt block, which let me get out, and here you're going to see it even in worse conditions. So some things have improved, and some things have been abandoned, and it's like a lot of children. That's the worst analogy I could make. It's also interesting seeing the bedrock to console difference in lighting and texture and all that, and like graphics have changed over the years. It's both very cool and frightening at the same time. Here we have what was probably my most prominent base for a while. Still mostly exists to this day, but in a very different state. Here you can see a lot of these things like the painting. This was my original treasure room, which even then had lost a lot of the treasure because I had taken it for like the beacon and things. Very small treasure room, and in the future, boom, tower's still standing. One of the most old things in this world that hasn't gone. So are these wood pathways, and so is this. As you can see, it was one of my original homes. Those armor stands still stand, apparently. That instead of a dragon egg, it says toy headers. Yes, the dragon egg was just relocated several times. Treasure room's gone. Enchanting room's gone. That's gone. Like the crafting tables and furnaces, all gone. And yeah, that's basically that base being eliminated. As you can see here, I destroyed the painting, which has been there for many years. I will probably fix that at some point, but that's quite funny to me. Down here was the old minecart track, but there's a mine and no minecart rails anymore because I removed them. And then, boom, Mirage City. Here we have basically a big area of my world where I used to do farming. That was my farming hut. And also the Cassier Tower, which I destroyed recently. So another Cassier related thing. But yeah, even then, this isn't a war. Like, if you looked back at a few videos a few months ago, and I showed off this tower then, I think in my first episode of the Let's Play, here we have, in a bit of a better state, if you could call that. It's a very ugly tower. Just ignore me struggling to get through the trapdoor. And yeah, there's not much to it, even then, because I was very poor in resources and I didn't know how to build. I still don't. No one really does. We just all hope that we do. Similar to how the human race hopes to survive the future. But yeah, look, sleeping in console edition, wow, how much has changed. It actually has changed though, a lot of things have changed. Even if it's minor, all those minor things come together. Like cactuses look different, everything looks different. Well, not everything, but the majority of things. You can see the graveyard mountain, as we call it now. I'm not going to show off what that looked, because it's pretty boring. Because I did have some more old footage I could have shown, but there wasn't really anything. Farm's gone, except for just some remnants, graveyard, all that. You guys already know the drill. Over here we have Capitalist Tower, or Kca Tower 2.0. Yes, I'm talking about Cassier again. Oh my god, look at that, elytra rolling. I wish we had that still, because it felt very epic, I will say. Classic Jarden skin. I used that for many years. It's my oldest skin. Will probably be in this thumbnail, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to express this video. At this point, Kca Tower was the main place I lived. A lot of this tower is in a similar state, but like all the chests, as you'll see, are gone now. And this is actually the way I left the world for many years. The majority of the time, the world was... I was not playing on... This tower was just left like this with all my stuff, and this is what I got up to. And I was never going to play this world again until last year, at the end of this year, where I changed this completely, basically finished the tower, removed some stuff, and moved my resources. This is where a lot of my stuff used to be. This, however, is not as old as some of the previous clips. This is a bit more into the future, presumably not that long after the end update. An auto smelter. I have a better system now, you could say. Still a similar style of how I sort things, like having a workshop, but much worse, I think. These spiral staircases were a nightmare. Here, I had a mine under there. I still technically do. The actual layout of the tower has changed. Gravel looks different, that's quite funny. A lot of the things look different, like the diorite as well. Under the next throne was my chest room, which I'm not going to show off in the new clip, but because it's basically, it's still there in terms of the empty space, but there's no chest or anything. That's the start of the saddle collection, I guess. Yeah, this is very ineffective sorting and very messy. But, you know, this is where all my items were at the present time. I don't know why I showed them off in this old footage. Maybe I was proud. This is interesting because it's similar to my current base with using grass underground. I don't think that's a very unique thing. These random animals keep spawning, so I trapped them in that room specifically for some reason. I don't know why I was growing that amount of nether wart. It's too little and too much at the same time. Yeah, I love how I'm mining out through the walls as well. Like, I don't have a proper entrance, clearly. Look at the glass panes as well in terms of texture. This was the first time I ever got a fully powered beacon in survival. I was very proud of that. As you can see, it was made with a lot of basically all my resources. Ugly stone wall, which seems to be a common pattern with me. However, I did destroy this one, as you'll see in the next clip. This one had a bit more structure to it than my modern one, but it was a lot smaller. That horse still exists today, but it was relocated to the Kca stables. This is Cassier Tower, or kind of renamed Capitalist Tower. Yeah, and that's basically what it is today. And that's it for this video in terms of, like, that's all the old footage for now. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. The end.